back, everybody. It is Thursday, so it's time, of course, for our Thursday segment, Talking Kids with Dr. Caitlin. Dr. Caitlin Iddings is a pediatrician here in Lexington, and we're so excited to have her with us this morning. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Today we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about head injuries. I want to get right to it because I don't have a lot of time. So, because this is important and it's scary for parents.
Yes, and so head injuries are very common. They're a very common reason that we'll get calls from parents saying, do I need to take my kid to the ER? Are we okay to watch them at home?
Okay.
And so there are some pretty quick criteria that you can go by just to know like what's going to be a significant injury that you need to seek emergency attention versus what can you just monitor. And so the big thing, of course, is prevention. So making sure we have like gates for stairwells, making sure we're wearing helmets whenever we're riding our bikes and stuff. But no parent can watch their kid 100% of the time. Like, it's just impossible. So most parents have a trauma story from like, oh my gosh, when my kid was 3, they fell down the stairs, right? So the big things to be on the lookout for, number one, when the fall occurred, and sometimes you may not witness it completely, but was there loss of consciousness, right?
Okay.
So if your kid cries, that's actually reassuring, right? Because that means, okay, they didn't pass out, they didn't lose consciousness.
Right.
Number two, where is the injury at? And so in kids, the strongest part of the body is right here on the forehead, which is usually where they're going to hit their head. So if they have a big, like, you know, bruise or a big goose egg right here on the forehead, that's less concerning. If it's more on the side of the head or the back of the head or even on the top of the head, that's not as strong, and it's more likely to actually cause a significant traumatic brain injury or bleed. And so that's important that you know kind of the location that it occurs when you're talking to us. And then the other thing would be kind of the mechanism of injury. So did they fall from higher than 5 feet up when they hit? Were they hit by a car, you know, on their bike? Did they get a baseball to the, you know, to the back of the head or something? So if you know those things, and you can say, no, they didn't lose consciousness. No, it wasn't like a very high fall. Yeah, there's a big goose egg on their forehead. And then the other thing is how they're acting, right? So you know your kid best. If your kid seems weird or altered, they're like fumbling over their words, even like toddlers, you know, a good check is sort of like, do you want a gummy bear? Or like offer them a food that you know they like. And usually if they're like, yeah, or they're acting normal, then we know, okay, they're probably okay. We do want you to offer them food because if they have significant vomiting after it occurs, that can also be sort of a warning sign. But if the answer to all those questions is, nope, it was fine, they have a goose egg, put some ice on it, give them some ibuprofen, monitor them for 6 hours after, because if they're good for 6 hours, they're probably going to be just fine.
In the old adage with a head injury, if it's a concussion, we say, don't let them sleep, or right?
So for the first 6 hours, so if it happens right before bedtime, you should probably wake them every couple hours and just ask those screening questions. What's your name? And, you know, where are you?
Right,
you know, basic questions. If it's during the day and they aren't going to sleep, after 6 hours, you don't have to wake them up.
But this is great advice. As you said, these things can happen, and so prevention is key, but if something does happen, ask those questions of yourself and of the child.
Yeah, and of course, if you're at all worried, if there's any gray zone, as there oftentimes is, we do encourage you to seek out emergency attention or call your doctor. A lot of doctors' offices have like nurse triage lines or a way to get a hold of your doctor where you can kind of go through those screening questions. There is something called the PECARN criteria, PECARN. It's an app. You can pull it up and it'll ask you those questions and walk you through it and spit out like, do you need to go to the doctor or not?
Okay. All right, Dr. Caitlin, always good to see you. Thanks for being with us this morning.